Philip Kennedy Johnson and Marco Finnegan reveal the true intentions of Myrmidon as 007 finds himself at the heart of the organisation and face to face with its leader. Philip Kennedy Johnson uses the third issue of his series to crack open the mystery of Myrmidon and reveal the big bad of the organisation. Johnson continues to run down the list of fun James Bond tropes, this time with the villain inviting James over to his home essentially to dish out his plans. On top of that, we learn that the villain, Sebastian From, has gigantism and needs assistance to walk. It's a classic Bond trope for a villain to have some sort of disfigurement, disability, or something that sort of defines them as a villain, which isn't really politically correct nowadays, but it's something that's continued on in almost every single James Bond film or book. So I like that Johnson worked that into the story as well, with Myrmidon being a sort of peacekeeping organization and something that picks up the slack where they think they need to, and I like that it started as a medical company and something that this guy tried to use to help the world but found out that it didn't help the world as much as he thought. So I like that all of this is being worked into the story. Johnson also nails all the classic Bond stuff while making it feel new and exciting and putting James in an interesting situation where he has to go against his own people, which he's done before, but I like that there's the added caveat where he's kind of being made to. Usually when Bond goes rogue, it's because he's got to go help a friend or something, or, you know, his people weren't doing what was necessary in the mission, but I like that there's this added, well, maybe they're actually the bad guys this time. It's really interesting. The use of flashbacks as well to set up the overall story within the Nassar and tie it back into the main plot in the present was great, and it plays around with story structure really well as we get to see each issue reveal a little bit more about the flashback. In this issue we get to see a bit more of Gwen and Bond's relationship and how they work on missions, which was quite fun. Marco Finnegan continues Bond's adventure with his unique style of art. My only problem this issue with the art was actually it took me a minute to realize that Sebastian has a form of gigantism, and that was mainly thanks to the angles and perspectives used in the issue that made it very hard to tell that he was actually, 8 foot tall and needed the cane and everything to help to walk. Apart from that, I love the bright colours and the hard-hitting action sequences we got at the beginning with Bond and Gan, and Bond fighting a cybernetic super soldier, which was quite fun. 007 issue 3 finally revealed the true villain and his organization, tying it together with Bond and Gan's past missions to make for a fun web of intrigue to get caught up in. I'm going to give this issue an 8 out of 10. 007 issue 3 finds Rook's men beat James for killing Brooks, making Rook tell James that he's got his men all on edge now. Years earlier, James sits waiting with a sniper rifle, assuring Gwen that he is very patient, but he's anxious for something to happen, knowing he was never meant to be much of a sniper, knowing shooting is easy, but waiting is the hard part. He sees something moving, telling Gwen to stand by as their target Nassar comes out of the building. Bond notes that the girl isn't with him, but Gwen knows that can't be true since Nassar never goes anywhere without the girl, and she signaled her this morning. Bond thinks that it's all a trap as the room is busted into by gun-toting assassins. Bond dives out of the way and blows one of them away with his sniper rifle, retrieving his pistol and killing the other, telling Gwen that he will meet her at the rendezvous point. Gwen doesn't want to leave as a man comes to her car with a gun, demanding she get out of the vehicle. Gwen acts scared of the man, and when he gets close, she shoots him, telling Bond that they need the girl. James thinks the girl is now dead and their cover was blown, but Gwen tells him if he leaves now, she is dead for certain. In the present, James is taken off the private jet he was imprisoned on and told by Rook his employer wants to meet him. James is freed from his restraints as Rook thinks that it's a waste of time, reminding Bond that this isn't like Moscow and Jimmy has nowhere to go. James doesn't like that nickname, but Rook doesn't care, wanting to settle it with him sometime. James heads into the building, finding a statue as a voice asks if he likes it. James notes that the statue is unfinished and the voice says the sculpture's face is obscured because his name has been forgotten, and while they don't really know anything about him, the man considers the sculpture a role model. He tells James the man in the sculpture was a Macedonian doctor during the rule of Philip I. As James heads through the advanced facility he finds himself in, the voice gives him a rundown on the doctor's life and how he seemingly healed Philip the day before he was set to massacre a city. But then the king developed a strange fever thanks to a single pomegranate seed hidden under his skin from when the doctor bled him. The man knows that with his death, thousands were saved, and it is the duty of the moral man to take power from an amoral man, and that is the tenets on which he has built his organization on. Bond soon confronts the man behind Myrmidon, finding him to be a wheelchair-bound older gentleman who welcomes him to Myrmidon. Bond wants to know who he is and why he is there, so the man introduces himself as Sebastian From. He knows that Bond hasn't heard of him since he likes to keep his anonymity. The man manages to get up from his wheelchair with the help of a cane, walking with Bond as he tells him before Myrmidon he developed medical technologies, but his good was outdone by the politicians and oligarchs who wished to harm others. So he changed focus, turning the medical company into a defense contractor. Sebastian says that he didn't invest in missile systems or personal carriers, instead investing in the people, since he believes in minimizing conflict rather than escalating it. Bond asks why he is there to begin with if they don't intend to kill him, so Sebastian tells him that it's because Gwen was there, since if James is as loyal as Gwen was, then he will be loyal to Myrmidon as well. James still believes that Sebastian's people killed Gwen, but the man tells him that Gwen was his most truest supporter, so why would he kill her? He knows that she joined Myrmidon as a mole because Gwen told him, and the big London operation was actually her operation from the start. Bond knows that's a lie, making Sebastian reveal that there is a high-level closed-door meeting happening in London in 2 weeks, and a controversial world leader will be at that meeting where the UK will recognise this man as the country's rightful leader and offer him the resources to ensure his return to power. Sebastian reveals that this man is Mahmoud Nassar, the man James and Gwen had a colourful history with, as he was convicted of war crimes thanks to the testimony of 2 women James and Gwen rescued from him years prior. The man knows that Bond and Gan shed a lot of blood on that mission, but they got no recognition for pulling off a mission which they both should have been killed on. Sebastian says that Gwen was inside Myrmidon when she learned that the British government was ready to work with Nassar again, and she recognised Myrmidon had the means to make things right where MI6 wouldn't and couldn't. So she devised a plan to assassinate Nassar following the meeting in London, and where she thought she was ready to do what was necessary, she also thought James would do that as well. Bond doesn't think his government would legitimise Nassar's rule, so Sebastian tells him to go back to MI6 and check it out, but before that, he wants to show him what Myrmidon really is, explaining that it was a sea change in the nature of warfare, and he is using nanotechnology, stem cell research, and neural engineers to make soldiers capable of marvels. As Bond and Sebastian travel through the medical facilities, Sebastian tells James that just a few of his soldiers can decide the victor on any conflict, but intelligence and espionage are crucial as well, and they need people like James. However, if he could really do things his way, he would fight wars in cyberspace and Wall Street and in the shadows with people like James and Gwen, since the one person with a stolen secret or well-placed bullet can save entire populations. James knows that if all of this is true and Gwen really believed it all, then who killed her, since if she was caught betraying MI6, they wouldn't kill her, they'd just put her in prison. Sebastian isn't sure who did it, but if James joins Myrmidon and picks up where she left off, he will help Bond find out. James heads back to the plane, told by Mr. Rook that Mr. From has a lot of faith that he'll make the right call, but he's not really a faith guy, warning Bond that they have eyes on him and everyone he cares about, and if he tells anyone that he was there, they will know. James clenches his fist as he gets on the plane, remembering Gwen's words about Queen and country being damn hard to believe in at times, but when that happens, you have to remember your younger, truer self, the one who wanted to leave something better behind. James arrives home and gets a call from M, who demands to know where he's been and if Myrmidon have made contact. He remembers what Sebastian told him about stopping the corrupt and self-serving, as well as Rook's warning about watching everyone he cares for, so Bond lies to his boss and tells him that they have not made contact yet.